On Monday, President Trump was in Israel. He spoke to the Knesset about the Gaza peace deal. There were a number of things that were said during that presentation that Donald Trump gave, which I'm going to address. Miriam Adelson was present. Of course, you know, big contributor to Donald Trump's campaign, a huge supporter of Israel. But on top of that, this is not a peace deal. A week ago, maybe it was a couple of days ago, I warned you guys that this was not a peace deal, that I did not trust Israel to uphold this permanent ceasefire, and they're not. And now you will see where we are today. They couldn't even get by 1 week without already trying to kill people in Gaza. So we're going to get into all of that. Now, first and foremost, Donald Trump here is signing this agreement. So this person here, CJ Pearson, so he is one of the paid Israel influencers. He's one of the ones that is receiving that $7,000 to post. He was on that chart of the paid pro-Israel influencers. And I have to say that to make something very clear. So he shares this and says President Trump and Middle Eastern leaders have officially signed the Gaza peace deal, one of the most historic foreign policy achievements in American history. So let me show you this here.
Okay. This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too. It's going to hold up. Okay, thank you. You can use my pen if you want. Have a pen? And use mine? Okay. Okay.
Yes, Danny, it does remind me of that. It's like pen ASMR.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you guys notice, right? Okay, so you see who's signing this. We can go forward here. See who's here? Hold on. Let's go back to Donald Trump because I want you to see who's present. Right here. Okay, so you have Donald Trump is present with Arab leaders and they are signing that agreement. What CJ Pearson does not tell you in this tweet that he shared is that Israel did not sign this agreement. Now, I will say this. I will say when we compare the two, Trump and Biden, one thing that Trump did do differently is he was willing to negotiate with Hamas, right? So he had Steve Witkoff basically contact them and negotiate with them directly. Biden was not willing to do that. Biden was not willing to talk to Hamas, didn't want anything to do with them at all. That is one of the differences that I will point out. However, people are saying that this peace has happened. I just want to show you who signed this agreement. So I shared this on X. Israel did not sign this agreement. Influencers are omitting info to run cover for Trump. And again, I am sharing this tweet from CJ Pearson because he is one of the paid pro-influencers who is not telling you this part. Look at this. The Trump Declaration for Enduring Peace and Prosperity. So this is who signed it, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump, of course. We have the president of Egypt. We have the emir of the state of Qatar. And we have the president of the Republic of Turkey. Israel never signed this agreement. which means Israel does not really support this. And that's really what it comes down to, because the other Arab leaders, they're not bombing people in Gaza. They're not shooting people in Gaza. Israel is. So there's this thing that's going around on social media where a lot of the pro-paid Israel influencers are saying, we got to applaud Trump. He finally got peace in the Middle East. But they're not telling you this part. And it's important that they show that to you, because that right there lets you know that Israel was not going to uphold their end of the deal. So people say, give credit to Trump for trying to do something. Like I said, I do give credit to Trump for this. I give credit for him talking to Hamas, trying to make a negotiation with Hamas, which is something that Biden was not willing to do. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump gave weapons to Israel, just like Biden gave weapons to Israel. Palestinians were killed under Donald Trump's presidency, just like they were killed under Joe Biden's presidency. The one thing different, he was willing to make a negotiation with Hamas. So that's how we got at least this far. However, on Monday, this happened. This is what I was trying to tell people. Israel was not going to uphold that ceasefire, and they covered it immediately, surprisingly, on Sky News. Listen to this.
Breaking news to bring you now. It's coming from the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, and relates to Gaza. And they've put out a statement saying that earlier today, several suspects were identified crossing the yellow line. That's the line which the IDF has withdrawn to as part of the first phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. So they said suspects crossed the yellow line, approached IDF troops in northern Gaza, which they say constitutes a violation of the ceasefire agreement. They say attempts were made to distance the suspects. They did not comply, continued approaching the troops, who opened fire to remove the threat. They say the reports regarding terrorists' infiltration to an IDF position are incorrect. And they finish off by saying the IDF calls on Gaza residents to follow its instructions and not to approach the troops deployed in the area. Nevertheless, that sounds very much like the continuation of at least some violence in the Gaza Strip. But
yes. So let me go ahead and tell you what they are saying with no proof. The IDF is saying that they killed those Palestinians in Gaza on Monday because they crossed the yellow line. So we talked before about that yellow border where the IDF was supposed to walk back to that yellow line, and the Palestinians were not supposed to cross that line. There's no proof of that. For all we know, they could have just killed them just because. Let's also remember that before the hostages were even released, there were IDF soldiers, videos of them bombing as many homes as possible, destroying as much as they could as possible before the Palestinian people were able to return home. Now I'll show you a little bit more, because it wasn't just that incident. Middle East Eye covered it here as well. Israel kills 7 Palestinians in violation of Gaza ceasefire. So you see what the excuse that they're using? Yeah. So let's get into it. They killed 7 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip on Tuesday earlier, in violation of the ceasefire agreement signed last week. According to local health officials, 6 people were killed in Gaza and 1 in Khan Yunis. In Gaza City, eastern Sharija neighborhood, at least 5 people were killed in an aerial attack while inspecting their homes. So there was also a drone attack that happened. So what's the excuse for the people who were killed while they were inspecting their homes? Israel can't say that they crossed that yellow line. So do you see what I mean? There's no ceasefire. And everyone needs to stop saying that. And I warned people days ago, you cannot trust Israel. They cannot be trusted. When people ask me, well, what is this idea of peace? As long as there is occupation, there is no peace. As long as people are occupied, there is no peace, because what that means is that you have Israel still controlling what goes into Gaza, still raising hell on the Palestinian people. The only way that you get real peace is to end the occupation. And I would go a step further and to say Israel can't be there. because we just know that Benjamin Netanyahu's plan is that greater Israel project. So as long as Israel is there, this is going to continue. Another thing, don't forget Benjamin Netanyahu is still facing multiple charges. So as long as he continues the attacks, he doesn't have to go to court. Let's go on a little bit more. Separately, a drone strike in the town of Al-Fakari, east of Khan Yunis, killed at least one person. These attacks constitute a breach of the ceasefire agreement that took effect on Friday, which explicitly stated that all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment and targeting operations, will suspend. Everybody see what's happening here, right? So this is what we have to pay attention to. There is no ceasefire. There is no peace deal. Basically, what you have is this agreement where the West is going to come in and they are going to control Gaza, right? Like Donald Trump mentioned Tony Blair. Now he says he's not too sure about Tony Blair, but the Palestinian people are not getting that full liberation. Before I went live as well, now Israel's trying to say this is on Hamas. We're going to strike because they didn't give all the bodies. There are paid pro-Israel influencers on social media saying, look, the hostages that Hamas released, they were only men, which means you know what they did to the women. Also misleading. The women were released first. So there's a lot of propaganda that's out there, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, one of the hostages that was released from Israel, this is what he said here in this video. For 2 years, I've been starving. I went to prison hungry and came out hungry. I swear we didn't eat or drink. We're sick, tortured day and night, suffering every kind of physical and mental abuse. They threaten us with our children. I had to read that to you because it's not in English, but you can see here.
وجع سنتين وانا جوعان انا طلعت من هون جوعان وانسجنت جوعان وطلعت جوعان اقسم بالله انه ما بناكل ولا بنشرب ونشبح عريانين واحنا بيشبحونا عريانين بيشبحونا ليل ونهار لحتى اليوم هم قاعدين بيجرحوا فينا وبيلكنوا فينا وبيغلطوا علينا بكل اشكال العذابان على المستوى النفسي والجسدي والله ما بننام بيهددونا باولادنا قتلنا اولادكم ما بش غزه خشيت غزه لقيت هذا مشهد من مشاهد يوم القيامه مش غزه ولا الناس ولا العالم ولا الناس هذا مش ناس هذا مش عالم كيف من الشفا اخذوه يا جماعه انت الان
And there's a number of us that have seen videos of Israel torturing Palestinian prisoners that we obviously can't show on here, but those videos have been circulating around on social media, honestly, for years. So none of this surprises me. There is something else that has happened in reference to the hostages. Israel has banned the Palestinian people from celebrating their return. Check this out. This was reported earlier also by Sky News.
The Israelis have banned any kind of celebration. They've also banned the families of those prisoners being interviewed by the press. The Israelis have banned any kind of celebration. They've also banned the families of those prisoners being interviewed by the press.
Notice he calls them prisoners. I want to remind everybody the majority of people that were held hostage by Israel have had no trial. The majority of them are civilians, have had no trial, and Israel just kept them there. 2, they are not allowed to talk to the press. Why? If Israel didn't do anything wrong to them, if they weren't tortured as they say, then Israel would have no problem with them speaking to the press. So we got another problem here, not just the physical occupation, but the silencing, the censorship, telling them who they can talk to, telling the Palestinian people they can't celebrate their return. So this is Israel. This is what it is. This is what it has become. And people have to really see it to believe it. And that's what I was concerned about when they said this Gaza peace deal. You will see right here, Benjamin Netanyahu says that this is far from over. Again, if you are just joining, just to remind you, Israel did not sign that Gaza peace deal. You'll have to read the captions here because he's speaking in Hebrew. He says, but with joint forces, we achieved tremendous victories that shocked the entire world.
ואני רוצה להגיד לכם, בכל מקום שנלחמנו, ניצחנו. אבל באותה מידה, אני חייב להגיד לכם, המערכה לא תמה. יש עדיין אתגרים ביטחוניים גדולים מאוד לפנינו.
Right there. He said, I must tell you, the battle is not over. There are still very big security challenges ahead. So what do you think that means, ladies and gents? Israel has an Iron Dome. Gaza doesn't have an Iron Dome. Israel has funding support from the United States and some of our Western allies. Gaza doesn't have that. So what other support, what other security does Israel need? We'll go on a little bit more here.
חלק מאויבינו מנסים להשתקם כדי לתקוף אותנו שוב.
Some of our enemies are trying to recover to attack us again. So now what's going to happen is Israel's going to start putting their focus probably back on Syria, back on Lebanon, back on Iran. Everybody's always out to get them, even though they're the ones that are slaughtering people.
וכמו שאומרים אצלנו, אנחנו על זה. יש גם הזדמנויות גדולות שלא ידענו כמותן, דווקא בגלל הניצחונות שהבאנו. אני משוכנע שבכוחות משותפים אנחנו נתגבר על האתגרים ונממש את ההזדמנויות.
So you see, I told you when he's speaking in Hebrew, he's speaking to the Israeli people. So he's letting them know this is not over. Donald Trump's not telling you that. The pro-Israel influencers are not telling you that. They're only telling you one side of the story. Now, here's where things get even crazier. Because Donald Trump, he spoke to the Knesset. He is asking them to pardon Benjamin Netanyahu. He's asking them to pardon this genocidal war criminal.
Those are just a few of the reasons why I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel has ever had. And they all say it in the White House. They all say it. I guess it's true because everybody says it, baby. You said it today. Thank you. I've always stood for the people of this community, and I always will. I'll always be with you. I'm always going to be with you. I guess maybe something could happen to change my mind. Somebody that's really stupid gets into office and wants to do really bad things, but that's about it. We don't think we're going to have that happen. I hope we're not going to have that happen. And this man is a good man right here. These two men are good men right here. Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon. Come on.
So does everybody see what's happening here? He's asking the president to pardon Benjamin Netanyahu, who is facing multiple charges. He wants them to give him a pardon. This is wild. A cabinet full of evil. A cabinet full of evil. But that wasn't all that he said. I told you Miriam Adelson was also present there. We'll get to her in just a second. There were some Knesset members. Let me show you this. Some of the Knesset members apparently were escorted out by Parliament during Trump's speech after displaying signs calling for Palestine state recognition. Again, some of the Knesset members, Amin Oda and Ofer Kasif, were escorted out of the parliament by security by U.S. President Donald Trump's speech, or during his speech, after displaying signs calling for a Palestine state recognition. Watch this. It's a cult. It's a cult. This Gaza peace deal does not include recognition of a Palestinian state. And I've said this time and time again, as long as there is occupation, there will be no true peace. Miriam Adelson, who got a lot of applause from Donald Trump. You guys have got to see this to believe it. I kid you not. He says the quiet part out loud about how Miriam Adelson has been so involved in making these decisions right out in the open.
Broken promises from many other American presidents. You know that. They kept promising. I never understood it until I got there. There was a lot of pressure put on these presidents. It was put on me too, but I didn't yield to the pressure. But every president for decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. Isn't that right, Miriam? Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam. Stand up.
There she is. There she is. That's Miriam Adelson. So what Donald Trump is letting you know, when he made that decision during his first term to move the embassy to Jerusalem, what he is telling you is that Miriam Adelson was a part of that as well.
Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I could think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently. She's got 60 billion in the bank, 60 billion. And I think she's saying no more. And she loves Israel, but she loves it. And they would come in, and her husband was a very aggressive man, but I loved him. He was a very aggressive, very supportive of me. And he'd call up, can I come over and see you? I say, Sheldon, I'm the president of the United States.
He is openly telling you that Miriam Adelson and her husband had that much influence on his decisions with Israel, that they could just come to his office like this. The president of the United States. So he's putting it all out there, letting you know who's really been. This is what I've been telling people about the money. If you follow the money, you'll understand why these policy decisions that are being made are being made. Miriam Adelson donated a lot of money to Donald Trump's campaign. And there's something to be said for that. Look at where they get their money from. So this is what she wanted, and this is what she got.
It doesn't work that way. He'd come in with the. But they were very responsible for so much, including getting me thinking about Golan Heights, which is probably one of the greatest things to ever happen.
All out in the open. He tells you they were responsible for so much.
Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country.
It gets worse. Wait.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say. We love you. Thank you, darling, for being here. That's a great.
She refused to say, which means she loves Israel more. So he definitely put her on blast. But there you go, folks. There you go. If you have been wondering where a lot of this came from, and this is going back to his first term. Also, look at who she was close to. Shout out to Chris Minahan. According to the New York Times, Rabbi Shmuley introduced the Adelsons to Jared Kushner, and then in late 2015, they met with Trump. They pressed Trump and Kushner to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and gave Trump $90 million after he followed through. The total given is now over $200 million. Ladies and gentlemen, this country is captured. This country is captured. We got people who are billionaires throwing their money at politicians to get them to pass what they want them to pass. And that's why they don't pass anything for you. So here you have it. There you know. I told you the politicians are basically just puppets. The billionaires are the ones that are throwing their money at the agenda that they want to get accomplished, that they want to get pushed. And she's just one of them. There are many. And it happens on both sides. It's also the reason why Joe Biden didn't want to listen to people saying genocide Joe and stop the war. This is why he didn't want to do anything. A lot of these politicians, especially the older ones, were bought and paid for a long time ago. However, something was really funny. I do have to show this. This is hilarious. I don't know if everybody saw the movie Something About Mary, but this is just too funny to me. Melanie shared this. Looks like Marion had a rough morning. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's her. That's the woman who put her money to what she wanted to have accomplished. So when they announced this Gaza peace deal, I was just kind of like, fool me once. Because the reality is the number of times that they have played at people's heartstrings with these ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, etc. And now they're really pushing this package as peace. There is no peace in Gaza. Gaza is still occupied. Israel broke the ceasefire already. And you see that Donald Trump lets you know that Miriam Adelson and her money walked right in and said, this is what we want to happen. And that's what the president did. And that's what all of them do. So if we really want things to change, we really have to get big money out of electoral politics. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.